My name is Dana Harlow. I'm 34 years old. Well, you know our Dana. She only types memos for the people who actually make decisions. My mother says it with a sweet, dismissive laugh. She's holding a wine glass in one hand, gesturing vaguely toward me like I'm a household appliance. Around the dinner table, half a dozen relatives chuckle. A few glance my way with those familiar sympathetic smiles, the kind you give to someone who tried hard and never quite made it. I stare at the cranberry sauce on my plate. The silver serving spoon still rests in it untouched. I feel my shoulders stiffen, but I don't say anything, because I'm used to it. This is Thanksgiving dinner in our family's over-decorated house in Fairfax, Virginia. My mom has invited the usual roster: my brother Ryan, home on leave from the Navy, my sister Elise, fresh off a fashion shoot in Miami, aunts, cousins, two neighbors, and her Bible study friend Marlene, who keeps mistaking me for an assistant librarian. They all look at me like I'm the odd one out. And maybe I am, because I didn't bring a uniform. I didn't post an Instagram reel. I didn't show up with a new ring or a promotion certificate. Just a quiet gray turtleneck and a bottle of Rioja no one opened. Mom is still talking. She's always been our quiet girl, behind-the-scenes kind of person. She keeps things running, but no headlines. Everyone laughs again, except me. I take a sip of water to cover the way my jaw tightens. No one here knows that I spent the last 72 hours in a windowless SCIF beneath Arlington running predictive threat analytics for a NATO cybersecurity drill that wasn't a drill by the time we locked down two Eastern European comms channels. No one knows that two generals and a NATO liaison colonel called me by name Dr. Harlow in the room where decisions are made with no room for error. No one knows because I can't tell them. Because that's how this job works. I type memos, and those memos move satellites. My mother tops off her own glass, clearly pleased with the spotlight. Honestly, she's brilliant with words. Always has been. It's like she was born to transcribe things. I set my fork down. My brother doesn't meet my eyes. My sister is texting. The silence inside me is loud, because she doesn't mean it to hurt. That's the worst part. She thinks this is affectionate, protective, like reducing my life to a background keyboard is helping me avoid disappointment. But I'm not disappointed. I'm insulted. I work in intelligence architecture, I say evenly. Mom tilts her head. Oh, honey, we know. You do that consulting thing, right? I nod once. I don't bother explaining the levels of clearance I had to go through to do that consulting thing. I don't explain how I once reverse engineered a data leak that saved 3 operatives in the Middle East. I don't explain how my name, just my name, triggers a log on 2 foreign threat servers. I don't explain anything, because I've tried, for years, and no one has ever really wanted to know. Across the table, Aunt Renee starts talking about her son's new apartment. Mom shifts attention easily. The conversation moves on. I chew, swallow, pretend I'm still hungry. But inside, something breaks clean. That night, after the dishes are done and everyone's moved to the living room for pie, I step outside for air. The chill cuts through my coat, but I don't mind. I stand at the edge of the porch, staring out at the empty cul-de-sac. My phone buzzes. One text. Classified OPS. Level 5 Confirmation Protocol. Red Echo location. Pentagon War Room 0130 hours. EEE. Harlow cleared primary consult. I stare at it. The war board. They're pulling me in, which means something serious is unfolding. Something too big for simulation. Too late for theory. I glance back through the living room window. Mom is showing off my sister's modeling portfolio to Marlene. My brother is asleep on the recliner. No one notices me out here. And that's fine. Because in a few hours, I'll be standing under fluorescent lights in a subterranean conference room where every breath counts, and men with ribbons on their chests will wait for my voice. And when my name flashes on that wall D, Harlow. OP's lead, no one will dare laugh. I was born into a family that believed in the performance of achievement, not the quiet kind, not the kind that happens in back rooms or behind doors that click shut with biometric locks. My family celebrated what could be clapped for. Medals, announcements, promotions with a podium, new haircuts, new engagements, new things that could be photographed and posted on Facebook by 4 p.m. I was never the one they clapped for. My mom, Deborah Harlow, is a Southern woman wrapped in pearls and personality. She measures success by how many people ask where you got your dress, how many casserole dishes you can juggle while entertaining, and whether you've managed to marry someone who earns more than you. She wanted a Navy SEAL son. She got one. She wanted a daughter who could turn heads at brunch. She got two, technically. One who does hair and makeup tutorials with 400K followers, and then me, the middle one, the quiet one, the one who types memos. I don't remember a time when I wasn't playing catch-up with someone else's spotlight. In school, I kept my head down. I liked math languages, puzzle games. I didn't care for stage plays or TikToks or flirting with boys in the back of youth group. I was 12 when I hacked my school's Wi-Fi just to see if I could. Not to break it, just to reroute the signal into a private log so I could understand the structure. When I told my mom, her response was, "Why would you waste time doing something you can't put on a resume?" So I stopped telling her. I got into Georgetown on full academic scholarship, graduated early with a double major in computer science and global security. I had dinner with the Secretary of Cyber Defense before I'd ever gone on a real date. At 24, I was offered a position inside the Department of Defense as a civilian analyst. At 27, I was handed my first top-secret clearance badge, Level 4. By 30, I was coding predictive models that became the framework for real-time threat detection. I wasn't just typing memos. I was helping write the language of modern digital warfare. But none of that translated at the dinner table. They never understood why I had to leave my phone at the door, why I couldn't post about what I did, why I dodged questions. "Are you still working in that intel thing?" my mom would ask. Yes, I'd say. "Well, just make sure you don't get stuck behind a screen forever. You're too pretty to waste on a cubicle." Pretty. As if that was my asset, not my mind, not my methods, not the lives I've helped save or the attacks I've intercepted or the teams I've briefed across 3 continents. Just pretty. Just typing. I tried once to explain the real scope of my work. It was my dad's retirement party. I'd just come back from a 6-week joint operation at Ramstein Air Base in Germany. I mentioned something vague, just a hint about systems updates we'd applied to drone authorization logic. My mom blinked at me like I'd just recited calculus. Then she smiled and said, "Dana, honey, the kids don't want to hear about your spreadsheets." My younger sister Elise laughed. "That's her code for top secret." Right? It became a family joke. Dana's just keeping us all alive with her memos. They'd pat me on the shoulder wink and move on. What none of them knew, what they still don't know, is that 2 months ago, a memo I authored and signed alone was used as the backbone of an interagency sweep that neutralized a malware breach targeting electrical grids in the Northeast. The thing about saving lives when no one knows you did, you either let the silence eat at you or you let it fuel you. I chose the latter because eventually you realize applause doesn't matter. Impact does. Still, sometimes I wonder what it would be like to have just one moment where my mother heard my name and didn't follow it with an apology or a shrug or a, "She's smart, but," what it would be like for her to see me not as a ghost in the corner, but as someone who was never trying to be flashy, just trying to matter. In my line of work, validation is rare. The best feedback is silence. If your system works, no one notices. If your report is airtight, it disappears into a black folder and vanishes behind steel doors. That used to be enough. But lately, it's not. Especially not after tonight. Especially not after hearing my own mother reduce me to a girl who knows how to type. I know who I am. I know what I've built. But a small, stubborn part of me still wants them to know too. And whether or not they understand it, they're about to. Because tonight, the message came through. Red Echo Alert, Pentagon Request, Primary Consult D. Harlow. Which means this isn't a drill. Which means something's happening that could affect millions. Which means I am the one they're counting on to see it clearly before it happens. And in the room I'm walking into next, there won't be punchlines. There won't be wine glasses. And there sure as hell won't be anyone asking if I still type for a living. There will only be silent spotlights and my name lit across a wall the size of a theater screen. This time, when the room goes quiet, it won't be out of dismissal. It'll be out of respect. The war room is cooler than I remember. The fluorescents hum above like they're part of the chain of command. Everything in here is muted steel desks, black chairs, navy carpets, beige panels. Even the urgency has a professional rhythm to it, like adrenaline, but trained. There are no family photos, no paper snowflakes on windows, no casserole waiting in the oven. I check in at the third clearance gate. They scan my badge. My name appears on the log. Harlow D. Intel Architect Primary Consult, Red Echo Opes. I'm escorted through 3 more doors. Then I'm alone. Not metaphorically, physically. The final 10 steps into the inner chamber are always made alone. Even generals walk in by themselves. It's a reminder whatever you bring into this room is yours to own. When I enter, I see Colonel May's already seated sleeves rolled up silver at his temples now. He nods once. There's no thank you for coming. That's assumed. I take my place. The digital warboard lights up. My threat model is already queued. Is this real? He asks, pointing at the cascade lines on the right. Yes, I answer. It propagated faster than the simulation predicted. Our early flags went up 15 hours ago. I ran it through variant cascade protocol 3 times. He studies the board, no doubt. Just cold calculation. Who else knows 2 people? 1 inside NATO, 1 in Stuttgart. He exhales slowly. You want to brief the table? Yes, sir. And just like that, I lead. When the session ends 3 hours later, my model is accepted. Actionable. Orders are drafted based on it. A rapid deployment team is placed on standby. I'm told to stay on site for the next 36 hours. I don't call anyone. Not because I can't, because there's no one to call who'd understand or care. At 5:40 a.m., I step into the Pentagon's side courtyard. The air is frigid. I hold my coffee like a shield. That's when my cousin texts. Cody, Naval Academy. Still technically in training, but they let him shadow certain rooms now. He was in the warboard session as an observer. I saw him in the back near the door. We didn't speak. He looked stunned. He's never seen me like that, never seen me as someone the room listens to. His message is simple holy S. You were in command. Your name was up there. Primary consult. I had no idea. Mom's been calling you a secretary for years. I stare at the message for a long time. Then he sends a second one. I kind of snapped a photo. I know it's against protocol, but I didn't share it outside the family thread. Just wanted them to see. My heart stops. Dana. Your mom saw it. I don't respond. I walk back inside. By noon, I'm back in the apartment I rent just outside D.C., a 22-minute drive from Langley on a good day. The walls are bare. I keep the furniture minimalist. I don't like clutter. I take off my coat collapse onto the couch and just breathe. 2 missed calls from my mother. I stare at them. I'm not ready, but the third one rings before I can think. My thumb hovers. I answer. Hello? Her voice is quiet, trembling. Dana. What was that photo Cody sent? I don't say anything. That board? That name. Is that you? I could lie. Pretend it was a different Dana. But I don't. Yes, Mom, that was me. Since when? The laugh that almost escapes my mouth is sharp bitter. Since always. Silence. Then, why didn't you ever tell me I breathe in slowly? Try not to snap. Because when I tried, you told me no one wants to hear about my spreadsheets. More silence. I didn't know. I thought you were just typing memos I finish. She doesn't deny it. Why didn't you say something at dinner? Would you have believed me? She pauses. And then so quietly I almost miss it. I'm sorry. That word lands heavier than I expect. I'm sorry for how I've spoken about your work. For how I've dismissed it. You were always so quiet. I thought maybe you just didn't want the attention. I didn't, I say. But I didn't want to be invisible either. Her voice breaks. Just a little. I'm proud of you, Dana. It takes everything in me not to cry. Not because I need her pride, but because I didn't think I'd ever hear it again. Thanks, I whisper. We don't say much else. And that's okay. Because for the first time, the silence between us doesn't feel like a dismissal. It feels like space room for something new to grow. After the phone call, I sit on the edge of my bed for a long time, staring at the floor like it holds answers I missed. My mother apologized. That should have felt like a triumph. It should have filled something, closed something. But instead, all I feel is this strange hollowness, a kind of sadness that doesn't cry, it just lingers, because now that she knows, it still doesn't change what's already been done. How many years I've spent invisible, not in the world, in my own family. I returned to Fairfax the next weekend. A quiet visit, no Thanksgiving crowd, no big dinner. Mom had called again this time, softer, more hesitant. You left some of your things here. Thought maybe you'd want to come by. Just us. So I do. The house looks the same. Too many candles. Too many framed quotes about grace and gratitude. A bowl of peppermint candies on the hallway table that no one ever eats. She's waiting for me in the living room, sitting upright like she's afraid to relax. Hi, sweetheart. Hey. We exchange awkward smiles. She offers coffee. I accept. There's tension in the quiet and apology still hanging in the air without instructions. After a few minutes of surface talk, she says, "Your boxes are in the guest room." I didn't throw anything out. I nod and carry my mug upstairs. The guest room smells like lavender and wood polish. The closet is half empty. A stack of boxes sits in the corner, old notebooks, winter coats, high school memorabilia. On the dresser is a photo album I haven't seen in over a decade. Curiosity pulls me toward it. I flip it open. Page after page of family history birthdays, graduations, Christmas mornings. My brother Ryan in uniform. Elise blowing kisses to the camera at every age. And me, I'm there. Barely. One photo with a bad flash. A blurry shot at a science fair. A picture where I'm standing at the very edge of the frame, half shadowed by a potted plant. Captions are wrong. Ryan and the girls at Thanksgiving, but only Elise is named. A photo of my entire graduating class from Georgetown is labeled Elise's friend's wedding. I keep flipping faster now, until I stop at one page. My 29th birthday. I remember it because I had flown home straight from a policy summit in Brussels. I'd submitted a draft proposal that would later be adopted across 3 NATO intelligence cells. There's a photo from that night in the backyard. Everyone's in it, Mom, Ryan, Elise, even Marlene. But I'm not. I was there. But someone else must have taken the picture. Or maybe they cropped me out. Or maybe they just didn't think I mattered in that moment. The edges of the page blur. I don't cry exactly. I just stop breathing for a second. Then I hear Mom's voice from the hallway. I never knew you wanted to be in more of them. I turn slowly. She's standing in the doorway looking tired. Older. You always left so quickly. And you never asked. Because I didn't want to beg to be seen. I say sharper than I mean to. She nods, eyes wet. I didn't understand what your work meant, or what it cost you. You didn't try to. That lands. She lowers her head. You're right. I didn't. She walks in and sits on the bed, hands folded, silent for a moment. I thought I was protecting you by keeping you out of the spotlight, but maybe I just erased you without meaning to. I close the album. That's what it felt like. She nods again. I looked at that photo Cody sent 100 times. You looked different, not just important, certain, like you belonged in that room more than anyone. I sit beside her. We don't touch, but we're sitting together for once with nothing left to perform. You do matter, Dana. I just didn't know how to show it. I swallow hard. I stopped needing you to show it years ago, I say quietly. But I still wanted you to. She lets out a breath that almost sounds like a sob. We don't talk much after that, and that's okay, because sometimes the worst pain doesn't come from what's said. It comes from what was never said at all. Later that night, after I've packed my boxes and loaded my trunk, she walks me out. Will you stay in touch? Of course. Can I see what you do someday? I hesitate. Then I smile, small but real. Maybe. She doesn't hug me, but she reaches out, brushes a piece of lint from my coat. And somehow it's enough. Because this time I didn't leave wishing she'd asked more. I left knowing I didn't need her to. I know who I am. I know what I've done. And I'm done asking to be added to the frame. 3 days after I leave Fairfax, I get the encrypted call. It's early, still dark outside. I answer with groggy instinct, my thumb already hovering near the fingerprint unlock on my secure line. Red echo escalating. Real-time threat alignment confirmed. They need you at the Pentagon by 2100 tonight. The voice is familiar. Commander Diaz, my direct liaison in Joint Threat Response. Do I have time to brief? I ask. They already read your model. They want you in the room. My mind clears instantly. Understood. I'll be there. I hang up and sit still for a second. Then I rise, shower dress, and pack my kit with the same calm precision I've practiced for years. One black blazer, one badge, one encrypted hard drive, and a single chain around my neck, Mason's old service pin. He wasn't my brother, but he taught me to shoot straight when I interned in Virginia during his last tour. I always wear it when I know the room will be watching. That evening, I pull into the secure south entrance. It's raining again, cold and heavy, like the kind of storm that carries classified tension. Inside the walls are quiet. No chatter, no footsteps. Just the efficient glide of clearance scans and the soft ping of doors accepting your presence. I pass 6 checkpoints each, more silent than the last. At the final gate, my name flashes once. D. Harlow, access granted. Lead analyst OPS data strategy. Red Echo escalation. The double doors open. Inside the room is already half full. Colonel Mays nods. General Hyung is standing near the digital wall, arms crossed, reading a rapid data stream. A familiar figure waits near the console, Deputy Director Lang from Cyber Defense. He's not smiling. That's a good sign. Dr. Harlow, he says formal. We're deferring lead ops advisory to you for tonight's configuration. I nod. I've updated the predictive model to account for their shift in pattern over the last 12 hours. We're no longer looking at a single regional breach. This is staged escalation. Multiple entry points, distributed command signals. Lang gestures to the board. Show us! I plug in. In 15 seconds, the entire threat web lights up. The simulation pulses outward from 2 fake nodes, classic decoy. My overlay shows their real entrance, a minor substation in a Baltic Allies power grid that was dismissed as an error 12 hours ago. But I've seen this before. In pieces. Patterns that didn't make sense until now. And now they do. I walk them through the model, highlight the weak points, the predicted delay in EU response, and the potential fallout. I finish with a simple recommendation: deploy Cyber Response Team Delta within 4 hours, notify NATO command, begin digital isolation of infrastructure nodes. We can stop it, but we have to move now. No one speaks. Then Mays says, approved. Execute. And just like that, my fingerprints shape the response of 3 nations. At 11:47 p.m., the threat response activation is complete. Lang turns to me. You good to stay on site tonight? Yes, sir. He studies me for a beat, then says softer. You know, this will never be public. Not this part. Not your name. I know, I say. Still want it? Yes. Because I didn't build this life for headlines. I built it to matter. Around 2:00 a.m., I step out for air. I'm exhausted but alert. The kind of focus that comes after you've held too much in your mind and finally let it land somewhere. As I walk the empty corridor toward the side exit, I hear a voice. Dr. Harlow. I turn. It's Cody, my cousin, Navy, still fresh-faced, eyes wide even under fatigue. I didn't know you were still here, he says, falling into step beside me. I never really leave, I say, half smiling. He laughs, then looks serious. I've been telling everyone about what I saw, the way they deferred to you. It was badass. I raise a brow. You're not supposed to talk about anything that happens in that room. I didn't give details, he says quickly. But people should know. I wish they could know. I stop walking. So do I. But it's okay that they don't. He studies me. I don't get how you can be okay with that. Like, don't you want the world to know what you did tonight? I take a slow breath. Look out the window where the Pentagon lawn fades into the dark. I don't need the world, I say. I just needed one room to know. And it did. He nods, then says quieter, Aunt Deb knows now too. That name catches in my chest. What did she say? She didn't say anything at first. She just stared at your name on the board. Then she asked Mom if it was really you. I think she's still wrapping her head around it. I exhale. That makes 2 of us. He gives me a crooked smile. She's proud of you. You know that now, right? I shrug. It's not about pride anymore. And I mean it, because tonight wasn't about proving anything. It was about walking into the room they said I didn't belong in and taking my place at the front. Quietly, unapologetically, and for the first time not looking back. 2 days later, I return home to my apartment in Arlington. It's clean, quiet, and just the right amount of empty. I've never needed much, just a place to think clearly, move deliberately, and reset before the next call comes. I put my bag down, toe off my shoes, and flick on the kettle. It's only then that I notice the blinking light on my home terminal. One new secure message. Not from Lang, not from Mays, not from anyone in uniform. From my mother. Subject, is this you? Attachment, image, IMG 00427 JPEG. My breath catches. I click it. It's the photo, the warboard, taken at an angle slightly grainy, but the projection is clear across the top. D. Harlow Primary Ops Consult. The name is unmistakable, stark white against a glowing blue background. Everyone in the room is blurred, but I know where I was standing. I remember the moment. I remember the silence. And now, so does she. Her message continues. Cody sent me this. He probably wasn't supposed to. But I needed to see it with my own eyes. Dana, what is it you really do? For a second, I stare at the words like they're written in another language. It's not accusatory. It's not performative. It's curious, unsteady, real, and behind the question is a bigger one she doesn't write. Who are you really, and how did I miss it? I don't answer right away. Instead, I close my eyes and sit back on the couch, the hum of the city moving faintly outside the window. The next morning I call her. It's early even for her. I hear the surprise in her voice when she picks up. Dana, hi Mom. A pause. I didn't expect you to call so soon. I figured if I waited too long, I'd just write a memo about it. She lets out a laugh, tentative, almost embarrassed. I deserve that. Probably. Another pause. So, can you tell me what it is you really do? I let the silence hang for a beat. Then I choose my words carefully. No, Mom. I can't tell you everything. Most of it is classified, and some of it will always be. But that picture is real. I was in the room. I led the response. I can hear her exhale slow and heavy. I never imagined. Dana, I thought you were just... She stops. You thought I was just the girl behind the screen, I finish. Yes. There's no defense in her voice, just guilt, and maybe something that sounds like grief for all the versions of me she chose not to see. I was wrong, she says. You were never just anything. We sit in the quiet together. Do you want to know the truth, I ask? Yes. I spent years waiting for you to ask. Years thinking if I just worked harder, said the right things, showed up more. You'd finally see me. I know. And every time you brushed it off, called me a memo girl, a paper pusher, I told myself it didn't hurt, but it did. She's quiet. I'm sorry, she says again. This time the words don't bounce off me. They settle, sink in, because they come from a place of real regret. I was proud of you, she says. I just didn't understand what I was proud of. So I filled in the blanks with assumptions. You made me invisible, I say softly. I know. But I let it happen. I stayed quiet. I kept showing up without asking to be seen. Why I think about that? Because I didn't need you to validate me. I just didn't want to be erased. She doesn't respond for a long time. Then, almost in a whisper, I never will again. Later that week, I receive a letter in the mail, handwritten, from my mother. Inside is a photograph, not the warboard, a new one. It's me taken from years ago at my Georgetown graduation. I'm smiling, holding my cap, standing at the edge of the crowd. Until now, I hadn't realized how cropped out I was in the original copy. But in this one, I'm centered, framed. She must have found the original, restored it. On the back in her script, she wrote, "You were never the quiet one. We just never listened loud enough." I hold the photo in my hands for a long time. Then I place it inside a slim black frame. And for the first time, I hang a picture of myself on my wall, not because I need to be reminded, but because I'm ready to take up space. In my home, in their memory, in my own legacy. 3 weeks after that letter, I'm offered a promotion. Not the kind you post about. Not the kind you tell people over drinks or add to a LinkedIn profile. This one comes quietly in a sealed folder handed to me by Colonel Mays after a closed-door meeting. They want you to lead threat anticipation full-time, he says. I blink once, as in, the whole unit. He nods. You're already doing the work. This just makes it official. I open the folder. The job description is a single page. The title reads Lead Analyst, Tier 1, Strategic Threat Anticipation Unit, Stay. There's no salary listed, no applause, no cake in the break room. But the weight of it, I feel it settle in my hands like armor I didn't know I'd earned. If you say yes, Mays adds you'll be invisible. Even more than now. No one outside this floor will ever know your name. Not for the work you'll do. I nod slowly. That's not new. He watches me for a second. You okay with that? I used to want people to know I admit. Used to think recognition was the only proof I existed. And now I smile. Now I know I exist because the right people call when it matters. He extends his hand. I shake it. Just like that, it's done. That night, I drive home in silence. No music, no podcasts. Just the sound of the road and my own breath steady in my chest. I stop by the grocery store, buy a single cupcake from the bakery aisle. One candle. At home, I light it. Not for celebration, for acknowledgement of everything I've built. Of the woman I became when no one was watching. Of the voice I finally gave myself. I blow it out without making a wish. I don't need one. A few days later, I visit Fairfax again. Elise is in town and Ryan's home between deployments. We're all here somehow, and Mom wants a photo while we still can. She's different now, softer around the edges, still polished, still composed, but there's less performance in her presence. She doesn't call me her quiet one anymore. She calls me Dana. That's enough. She holds up her phone to take the picture, but I stop her. Let me. They smile, step into place, and I join them. We take one, then another, and then Mom asks, Will, you send me one where you're in the center? I freeze. Not because she asked, but because I never thought she would. Sure, I say. I've got the timer. When the shutter clicks, I'm standing between my siblings, shoulder to shoulder, head held high. The moment passes, but this time it doesn't vanish. This time, I'm in it. Back in D.C., I step into my new office at STAU. It's barely an office, just a corner, a desk, a clean screen. No nameplate. That's the point. Impact without applause. Precision without parade. But as I log in, I think about that dinner table. The way Mom once said she only types memos. And I smile, not bitterly, not with revenge, just with the quiet satisfaction of someone who knows the truth. Because those memos, they rerouted missiles. They saved power grids. They silenced digital invasions before they became headlines. And they built the path that led me here, not to fame, not to center stage, but to purpose. And that's the kind of recognition no one can ever take away. So now when someone asks me what I do, I don't hesitate. I say I read patterns in silence. I predict the storm before it begins. I write the words that change everything before the world ever knows it needed changing. And if they laugh, I let them. Because I've seen the war board. I've seen what happens when my name lights up in the right room, and that's enough.